You open the fridge, there's nothing there. So what's it gonna be? Greasy pizza? Sad drive-thru burgers? Dish by Blue Apron is for nights like that. These are the pre-made meals of your dreams. At least 20 grams of protein, no artificial flavors or colors, no chopping, no cleanup, no guilt. Keep the flavor. Ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Perhaps look forward is not the right word, Ed. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, actually. Yeah, not too bad. This 0-0 was better than the last 0-0.
I agree.
Just about. It was still 0-0 though, wasn't it?
It was still 0-0. Slaven Bilic saying in the press conference after the game that was anything but a boring game of football. And he was right, really. There were lots of chances at both ends. United had more and better chances than West Ham, I would say.
Yeah, it should have been 2-2 at 20 minutes in, basically.
Yeah.
Great chance for Fellaini on the header. A few minutes in, Victor Moses threw clear on goal. David De Gea doing what David De Gea can only do. Then we had that Cresswell cross and mistake by David De Gea. And then Smalling kicked it onto whose face? It wasn't Andy Carroll's face, someone's face, and it hit the woodwork and then hit the woodwork again 2 minutes later. So, you know.
That didn't add up to 2-2. That added up to like 4-1 to West Ham, I think.
Yeah, it might have done. Yeah. There should have been a lot of goals in the opening 20 minutes. And actually, there were more chances in the United game, bar all, except for the Chelsea-Bournemouth game.
Right. Isn't that interesting? And
it is.
It was a game that, set in a different context, would have garnered an incredibly different reaction.
Yeah.
But set in the context of being the 5th 0-0 draw United have been involved in the last 9 games.
Right.
And I think the 7th draw overall in the last 10 games. That's not such good context.
No, and it's funny, you know, the match of the day running order came out and everyone moaned about it, and because United are well down the list most weeks this weekend, and actually for once they probably got it wrong, because this was not the most boring game of the day. Definitely not. Lots and lots of chances for United. Once again, United had... I mean, it reads very familiar, doesn't it? If you hadn't watched the game, 63% possession, 1 shot on target, no goals. It seems like every other 0-0 United have had this season. And you know, I suppose in a way it was, because United didn't score. But great analysis there, Ed. but lots and lots of chances, and most of them just wasted, really. So it was a different performance, a better performance from an attacking point of view. I thought at times Mata and Martial and others were very good in attack and managed to carve open West Ham's defence, which, you know, is a bit porous, wasn't it, almost?
Yeah, I was sitting next to a chap who does social media for West Ham, and he just said they've been really poor defensively all season, really vulnerable defensively all season.
Well, look, I mean, this is a West Ham side that was also missing a few key players as well, so... They were weaker than normal, probably couldn't enact their game plan. Bilic is a good defensive coach. He does get his teams very, very well organised, and wasn't quite able to, well, you know, I suppose sort of was able to do it at the weekend. Got the 0, just perhaps a bit of fortune in there. And, you know, they're missing a few key players, and they played Andy Carroll up front, and so effectively playing with 10 there.
I'm not having that. Andy Carroll's a superhero. He at one point, he flicked the ball onto himself from the halfway line, then ran like a third of the field and out-sprinted Morgan Schneiderlin, and then tackled Morgan Schneiderlin after he got the ball off him. It was quite remarkable one-man teamwork from Andy Carroll.
Well, talking of big lumps, Marouane Fellaini came in at number 10, which before the game he insisted he absolutely would not come in at number 10.
Yeah, which one of us was it again, Ed, that said he would come in at number 10 and which one said he wouldn't?
I said he would.
Yeah.
And you said he wouldn't.
I think you might be right about that.
Uh-huh. Anyway, he was quite good.
Yeah, he was.
Not in your classic playmaker sense, but no, not exactly Zidane, is he? But he created some chances. I mean, he should have scored very early in the game.
Yeah.
I know it came off a West Ham defender's head, and United didn't get the corner, but I mean, man, Fellaini just jumps there and he scores. Of course, that's not his best skill, is it, getting off the ground?
No.
But he did okay, generally.
We all know what his best skill is, right? And I know everyone talks about this all the time now, but I mean, I was right in line with it, and it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen on a football pitch. Ball's coming at him from a long ball, and you think for every instinct in the world makes you think he's going to flick it on with his head. But instead, he controlled the ball with his chest with, just genuinely outstanding ability. It's really, really odd that he's so good at this one thing.
Yeah. Really just that one thing as well. So look, coming back to the start of the game, I guess, a few changes in, apart from Fellaini coming in, which was not that surprising. But Darmian ended up starting at left back and McNair at right back. And I guess he had to swap it around because United are kind of short of fullbacks at the moment.
Yep.
I suppose there would have been a chance of Young playing, but McNair came in and he did all right, galloping up and down that right-hand side until he got dragged off, but, not too bad. Putting a couple of decent crosses, one for Fellaini, who probably should have scored. And generally speaking, the back four as tight as it has been all season.
Yeah, and they were a bit more vulnerable on the counter-attack, but I think West Ham are just quite good at that, aren't they? And West Ham did have a period of about 5 minutes where they were the dominant side, which is at Old Trafford now, it's got to the point where that feels really weird when United haven't got the ball. It's what's going on? It's, of course, that's how football works, but not at Old Trafford.
Right. Well, there were 4 great chances for West Ham during the game. So Victor Moses, as I said, one-on-one saved by De Gea, a Cresswell cross and then onto the post, the Reed header onto the post. And in the second half, Zarati's great chance, which he missed from, 5 or 6 yards out. So, look, 0-0, but it shouldn't have been 0 on either side, really.
No, and the Darmian McNair thing was kind of interesting. This Darmian business, I thought he was much more solid defensively than he has been of late, but his lack of ability to put a ball into the box is a real problem, and it's been happening all season long. He's put in, definitely less than half a dozen good crosses this season, I'd say. Maybe definitely is the wrong word, but it feels like he's put in less than half a dozen good crosses all season.
It's not his strong point. He needs to get on the training field and start knocking some in. He needs to go and have a word with the new Valencia manager, Gary Neville, because he wasn't much of a crosser in his early days, and then became the best crosser at the club after Beckham left.
Should we table a discussion about Gary Neville to Valencia for later in the show? I know it's not directly United related, but it's pretty United related, isn't it?
It's Neville brothers taking over in Spain. Yeah, let's talk about that after we've concluded with United 0, West Ham 0. And then we'll get on to Bournemouth 0, United 0 before that.
Martial carved out some chances and also had an absolute gilt-edged chance right at the end. The ball from Memphis was just beautiful. Memphis has looked brighter in the last couple of weeks, and there was he just had a real impact when he came on, because once again the game had a kind of sandwich feel to it where the beginning was good and the end was good, but the bit in the middle was really, there was a lot of kind of the stuff that you were really angry about last week, this kind of passing. So at one point United fans shouted handball at West Ham, and as the opposition fans often do, they started shouting handball with each pass. But the thing is, you can't really do that against United because, it goes, oh, handball, right? Every time a new pass is played. But the gaps between them shouting handball were so long because United's passing is so slow that it was just going, oh, and you could see they were thinking, oh God, where are we going to go? We're going to run out of breath. Eventually, finally, someone passes it. Oh, handball.
Well, it's true. Look, it was over an hour before Adrian actually made a save. So, you're right about this thing of it being sort of dull in the middle part of the game. And a lot of that, of course, was to do with United actually not managing to get a shot on target during the first half. But look, you mentioned Memphis's setup for Martial, who side-footed it. Would have been such a classy finish if only it was 6 inches to the left, as it was. Not good enough. There was the Lingard, Fellaini, Martial sort of trio. They set up their chance for that first save of the game. Lingard had a great chance wide right towards the end of the game, sort of 5 minutes ago, Schweinsteiger blasted over, didn't he? So
Mata had a swing with his right foot and you just wished it was on his left.
Yeah, right. So lots and lots and lots of chances and ifs and buts, and I guess you say that's not good enough. And of course you then end up thinking, we're so critical of the style of play this season and not creating enough chances, and they do create a lot of chances, and then you start thinking, well, would it have been different if one of those 5 strikers he let go in the summer was kept on? Would any of them have scored a goal?
Bundesliga Player of the Month, Javier Hernandez. I mean, we had a little chat about this. Falcao obviously wouldn't have scored any of those chances. Van Persie probably wouldn't have been able to get himself onto the end of those chances. And Chicharito would have been on the bench anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, although Wilson danced around like 6 players and scored for Brighton at the weekend. So.
Yeah, but, if you put Martial in Brighton's team, I think he'd score about 1 million goals.
True. And look, the problem wasn't letting players go. The problem was not strengthening.
Yeah.
So United are in a position where they have, 2 strikers, I guess, at the club. Wayne Rooney, who's definitely on the wane. So, bad pun there. And Martial, who's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Loads of class, but he is 19 years old in his first season in England. And, that's beginning to look a bit negligent.
I mean, kind of, but the thing is, one of our better attacking performances recently was with none of those strikers on the pitch, playing Memphis and Lingard up front. We looked all right playing like that.
True. At least they had 2 players up front, I suppose. After the game, Van Gaal made this point in a way. He said that he expects that any of the players in his team should be able to score goals. Yeah, a great theory, total football and all that. He was asked about would Suarez or Aguero make the team stronger, and he instead of saying yes, because obviously yes, either of them would or both. He made this point about would they score goals in the United team, because everyone's expected to score goals, which is a great theory until you look at the number of goals each of these players have scored throughout their careers. And Memphis aside from last season, it's not many.
No, absolutely. And he did say when pushed that he did think they would both score goals at United. So he hasn't completely flipped. And I think that question was, it was the last question of the press conference. And I think he was just doing a thing where he was asked about transfers. So he was obfuscating out of habit, basically, because he's talking about transfers rather than making any particular specific point. But he can't ever resist an opportunity to give a little lesson in Van Gaal-ism when he gets into that state. I felt like that's what he was doing. The actual football, it was very frustrating to watch. And there was one, I think it might have even been the passage of play that it definitely led to a good chance, but the ball was knocked back into United's own half. And the crowd just got so agitated at that point. They really are absolutely sick of Van Gaal. Not him necessarily, although plenty are, but the crowd as a collective are absolutely sick of the football.
Yeah, well, right, they are. But United's executive management, don't care. And we had a rash of stories all coming out at the same time. Always happens after Ed Woodward's been gathering the local press down a pub, I suppose, or wherever he was, and the story was that United believes that Van Gaal is a genius, quote unquote, manager, and that if Pep Guardiola is available this summer, they are minded not to be interested in him because they're happy with what Van Gaal's doing, And I suppose, set in the context of United's fall post-Ferguson, the fact that Van Gaal has steadied the ship and United are now, in 4th now, but were 2nd coming into the weekend, that's fair enough. But it's not seeing the big picture, is it? It's not seeing everything. It's this weird dichotomy that United are in at the moment, whereby we're still in the Champions League and it's in our own hands, just about. And within a shot of winning the title, It's like could have gone top again with a win, or no, 2nd with a win. But definitely in with a shot of winning the title. And yet the fans are frustrated, because it's the worst football at United since Dave Sexton.
Yeah, I asked Van Gaal about this in the post-match press conference, and this is what he had to say.
It seems like the fans are increasingly frustrated. You spoke on Friday about the attack chance and suggested that because United have had a huge amount of possession, that should somehow make the fans happy with the attacking play. but they don't seem comfortable with the style of play.
Yeah. I think when we had scored a goal, then they were very pleased because they were supporting more than ever, I think. So it is a question of to score that goal. And we didn't do that. So that's our problem. And also that the fans are disappointed. Yeah, I know that because I'm also disappointed. And also my players. They want to score every minute of the game. But that is not possible. But I don't understand that they are shouting attack, attack, because we are the attacking team and not West Ham United. And that's not only today, that is in every game like that. Because we are always more dominating than our opponent. So that's what I have said Friday. That is what I mean to say. When you have a lot of ball possession, you have a lot of ball possession to create chances. And not to play the ball around to don't score. So. And when they don't like the style of playing for Manchester United, everybody knows that in advance. That all the teams of Louis van Gaal is playing like that. So when you have that question, then I say, okay, that's the where I have been in Barcelona or Bayern München or AZ, we have played like that. But I think when I meet the fans on the streets or where, then they are very happy with Manchester United and with me. But you have to score. And when you don't score, when it lacks points because of that, now we are 3 points behind Leicester City because we don't score one goal today. And that is the difference. And today, I think the team who has to win was Manchester United and not West Ham United. But they could have scored. We could have lost also. And that is also fantastic, this game of football.
Yeah, I thought you rather dodged your actual question there, but and gave you a lesson in sort of tactics and philosophy.
He kind of did, although he did address all the points. He did address the fact that the fans are frustrated, but you know, he said this thing about like people are always nice to him when he sees them out on the street, and I think, God, fans in other places must be really mean and just shout at the manager in the street. Because you know, you meet Van Gaal in the street, you're not going to be rude to him, are you? You're going to say, you know.
There's a nice anecdote in Danny Taylor's piece for The Observer this weekend where he says after Roma lost to Barcelona 6-1, they were greeted with rotten vegetables at the training ground. So, I mean, fans of Manchester United are very nice, and it takes a lot for the fans to start getting agitated at Old Trafford. It really does. You know, historically, this almost never happens, even under Moyes. And you know, there really wasn't this level of agitation. So it's a shame in a way that Van Gaal is almost not able to address it at all. You just get the sense, reading between the lines, that he thinks the fans are stupid. You know, he just doesn't get it at all. And they're being unfair and impatient or something along those lines, or mainly unfair. And maybe there's some of that, but there's 120 odd years of expectation that's been set institutionally into Manchester United, and this isn't just romanticism, is it? It's you know, the Babes and Ferguson and 25 years of attacking football and all of that, you know.
Well, 23 years, 20 years of attacking football. The attack chance, though, I can totally see why Van Gaal's frustrated by those, because they almost always happen when United are attacking. Not knocking the ball sideways for the sake of knocking the ball sideways. It's something that he said, the purpose isn't to just keep possession, it's to keep possession in order to create chances. And against West Ham, the system worked. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to carve out openings. And like the fact that Rooney wasn't there, it was probably a very good thing in terms of carving out more chances, and probably a bit of a bad thing in terms of not finishing him off, because Rooney's chance conversion throughout his career is spectacular, So there's a swings and roundabouts there, but
not for the last 3 seasons. It's not.
Right.
Go look at the stats.
Oh, you might well be right there. But anyway, he definitely has a knack for a goal in difficult circumstances, doesn't he? He scored that goal against CSKA, for example. But yeah, in terms of the way the football worked, it kind of worked better without him, really. The number of chances seem to point in that direction anyway. Yeah,
and it looks like he's out for the Wolfsburg game coming up in midweek, and I guess that's a good thing in that, If Rooney is the factor, we'll see. He comes back next weekend against Bournemouth, let's assume, and United only make 5 chances again, then we might have some good evidence that he's a problem, For what it's worth, I mean, I don't think Fellaini's anywhere near good enough for a starting spot at Manchester United. Just in the context of Manchester United. But he did make a difference. It was one of his better games for United. He helped. This is anecdotal, not data driven, but he helped United create many of those chances.
I thought basically anytime Fellaini was in the final third, it was very good to have him in the side, and any time he was in the middle third, it was less good to have him in the side. That was my anecdotal take on it, because actually having his physical presence up front made a huge difference, because it did, it's not like United were just launching it to him, but it did mean they could go a bit more directly, and it also meant that floating across to the back post wasn't just a total waste of time, as it's been so often this season.
Right. He created 3 chances and had 3 shots on goal. That's probably better stats than Rooney has had at any point this season.
And I mean, and also, though, it has to be said, he missed the best chance of the game by far, right?
Right.
And this is the problem with Fellaini, that he's useful, but he lacks a level of ultra quality, doesn't he? Obviously, yeah. Yeah,
Good debate there, Paul.
Yeah, I'm putting myself out on a limb there, saying that Marouane Fellaini isn't in that ultra elite level.
So look, it leaves United 3 points behind Leicester, the front runners. Leicester, Champions League favourites next season. Maybe. I, in a way, apart from having that horrible racist up front, it would be a lovely story for Leicester to make it into the Champions League, wouldn't it? Imagine Leicester versus Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich.
It still seems unlikely, but the longer this madness continues, the longer it seems plausible. I mean, it's so frustrating that we didn't nick a goal, because this weekend would have been a heck of a time to win a game.
God, it really would have been, yeah. It would have been. But, some interesting results. City lose, terrible performance. Liverpool lost as well after midweek, where many United fans are going, through very gritted teeth. Isn't Klopp a good manager? After Liverpool scored 6 in the Capital One Cup, and then they go and lose at Newcastle of all places.
Football's weird, isn't it? And today I was talking to someone before that Liverpool game, thinking every part of my brain thinks Liverpool should win 10-0 in that game, but I think Newcastle are going to win, because the football has been so very odd this season.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Liverpool's the huge victory in midweek, and it's 2 months into Klopp's time at Anfield. It's hard to draw too many conclusions, of course, and maybe he's just getting a bump from a new manager being in place. But it just felt like this was a side playing like Klopp sides do, and it just didn't take very long for him to get into place the philosophy, for want of a better word, that he wanted at Liverpool, and get the team playing to the way he wanted them, and get them playing at a better level than they had done for Brendan Rodgers. And, the word on the street has been that Klopp actually thinks he's got a pretty good squad there, and he's not asking for tons and tons of players and money, and he thinks he can achieve something. And that really should worry Van Gaal, because the last thing he needs, if he wants the fans on the side, is Liverpool doing well under Klopp and rejuvenating a side that was a bit of a joke. right? That is going to put pressure because it's a Klopp side. They're not going to be grinding out 1-0 wins.
No, they're going to be losing 2-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then after all that, that kind of narrative that went on during the week where there were a few sensitive fans. You say anything in praise of Klopp, and of course, there was a lot of abuse. And they go and lose. Yeah, I think I put a tweet out on Sunday afternoon saying I always knew Klopp was rubbish, which of course was an ironic take on my positive comments about him in the midweek. But of course, I got a lot of abuse off Liverpool fans instead.
You just can't win, can you?
I just can't. I can't.
The thing you said earlier about Woodward and the briefings and stuff, it's all pretty clear that that's been happening.
When 6 papers all come out with exactly the same story at exactly the same time, all claiming exclusive.
Yeah, there's been an email or two, hasn't there?
So I thought you were a big-time journalist these days, Paul. How come you're not invited to Woo-Wah's briefings?
No way, man. You
want to get the inside track?
No, I'm not.
Get him on the pod.
I'm not in any way, shape or form a journalist, I think it's fair to say. But yeah, anyway, the thing about that is they can't continue that if the fans hate the football, because people will stop coming. People will stop renewing season tickets. I'm sure the season ticket renewals will go down this season, or maybe I'm not sure of that, but it seems likely that there's a lot of people saying it's just not worth the time and expense to get to the football because the experience of watching it is so sort of boring.
Right. I think the thing that would concern them more than a few fans turning away, because they get on the infamous season ticket waiting list, right? Is when they engage Kantar or GfK or one of these global survey companies, and it says that fans in China are turned off United because they're a bit boring.
Yeah, and it will happen, right? Because
they're fickle. The global fan base is fickle.
Well, so's the local fan base, as we know from Soccernomics, right? There are, of course, a group of incredibly unfickle fans, but the elasticity of football support in terms of attendance is pretty big. So they're acting like they've got an inelastic supply. An inelastic demand, but the demand is elastic, and it will sag if the football stays boring. But again, I don't actually think the game against. I was not bored watching the game against West Ham. I was frustrated and just wishing for one of those chances to go in. But I don't think it was boring in the way that the PSV game certainly was.
Right.
And partly that's about West Ham, right? Partly that's they didn't come to just sit 10 men behind the ball, although they were pretty defensive for large parts of the game. They did have a go at counter-attacking. They did.
I mean, certainly 4 great chances, yeah. And not just sitting there and giving the ball away. Certainly not a Chelsea-esque versus United performance.
Or versus Bournemouth.
Yeah. No, they create a lot of chances, Chelsea, but that was one of the funnier results of the weekend. So many strange results over the weekend, I suppose. Well, anything more to say about West Ham? In the end, it's frustrating. United have dropped points down to 4th. Now only the 3 behind ahead of Tottenham. So at risk of dropping out of the Champions League spots, but only the 3 behind Leicester. So, in with a shout of being top in the new year.
Yeah, I think the one thing I want to say about the West Ham game is I didn't think Juan Mata was very good. And that's a big shame. It's always a big shame. You kind of feel like there's such an opportunity, although we said it was nice to have Fellaini in the side, or useful to have Fellaini in the side. We such a good opportunity to have Lingard on one flank, Memphis on the other, and Mata through the middle. But it's just not going to happen, is it? So I thought he was quite isolated and actually not that good on the ball.
No, he was involved with one really good move between. Was it Lingard and Fellaini, resulting in a Martial shot? Anyway, one of them, he was very good and played a couple of quick 1-2s. But yeah, didn't get into the game nearly as much as we'd like him to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's the man who suffered most from Van Gaal going to a 4-2-3-1 for sure, and away from 4-3-3. I think if he was either given a long-term run at number 10, and granted, he's actually not been very good when he's had a chance at number 10, not his best performances anyway. So that either that or United switch back to a 4-3-3 with Herrera back into the side, I think we'd get much better performances out of Mata. Undoubtedly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Herrera was adamant this week that he has no interest in leaving United. He's delighted to be at the club and loves it, etc.
Yeah, Van Gaal, on many occasions, looks like he has no interest in playing Herrera.
Which is just Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Anyway, final word on the game. We didn't mention one other player who made his debut.
Oh, yeah.
Guillermo Varela.
I thought he looked quite nervy. He was right on the other flank from where I was sat, so I didn't have a brilliant view of how he did. How did he look on telly?
I thought he did all right, yeah. A few nervy moments. An actual fullback playing in a United team, an actual real one.
There's two in the same team.
Yeah.
One on each flank. All right, so the left back is a right back, but still, it's close enough. And the centre back's a left back, but
yeah,
he was good again. Even though Andy Carroll targeted him at one point, but not bothered. Just I'll take you on, Andy Carroll.
The stats don't tell all the story, but he didn't put the same numbers as Smalling. Of course, he's clearing everything, but yeah, he did all right.
It's just like good. Daley Blind is. That's the thing about Daley Blind. He's good. That's my take on it anyway. The Premier League farce that was this weekend sees Mourinho lose again in a game which really looked like, they can't lose again. And I keep thinking when it comes to Chelsea, I keep thinking about something you said at the beginning of last season, which is that Diego Costa had only had like 1.5 good seasons in his career. And it was actually quite a big gamble to spend a fortune on him and make him your main man. Turns out you were right there, Ed.
Yeah,
they got a title out of it.
Yeah, they did. They did get a title out of it. Was it worth it? I mean, he's now fallen out big time with Mourinho, it seems.
Yeah, chucking bibs at him and all sorts. So that was that was a bit surprising. Arsenal won.
That was also surprising.
That's like what's going on there, and somehow Spurs are going to win the league. Somehow we're going to win the league. That's the great irony of all of this.
I think we're going to the final game of the season with 3 teams. No, we won't.
Okay.
Clearly.
So us, Leicester and Tottenham.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah, because City lost. Did you see that game?
I did not. I need the brief highlights.
So I was watching it in the press lounge at Old Trafford and I got there and it was 2-0 by the time I got there. And then Arnautovic was 1-on-1 with Hart and he hit the post and I just shouted, "Oh no!" at the top of my voice and felt embarrassed and was quiet again. I think I'll blow my cover here, lads.
All right, well, that was that. And a couple of games I did see, if I didn't see the City game, was quite a bit of Valencia versus Barcelona with new coach Gary Neville sat in the stands. And then we'll come on in a second to Wolfsburg against Borussia Dortmund because I also watched that one. But Valencia got a very creditable draw against Barcelona. Not too many sides managed to do that against Suarez, Messi and Neymar. And he probably had quite a lot of positive things coming out of that game. Gary Neville, who takes over today.
Yeah, hilarious that he got the job and was like, "Oh, you can handle the game against Barcelona, Phil. I'll take over after that." That's classic Big Brother privileges there, isn't it?
He gets quite a lot of those, doesn't he?
Yeah, like there's Phil given temporary charge of Valencia when the manager goes, thinking, "Oh, this is great. I've got my opportunity. I've worked hard for it." Gary rocks up. "All right, I'm here now. Wasn't interested in being assistant manager, but I'll be manager." So the Sky Sports Twitter account tweeted huge news coming up at midday. And you're thinking, "Oh yeah, they've cried wolf enough times with the phrase huge news." But nope, it turned out to be legitimately bona fide huge news. Obviously, there's the Peter Lim connection, but what do you make of the whole thing of him getting that Valencia gig?
Well, it's a temporary gig to start with, so I guess the risk is reduced. But he obviously has a very good working relationship with Peter Lim, so he has his trust. And it's a chance to put Neville's erudite and intelligent and super quick and on-point analysis to the test. In actual football. And, so it's going to be fascinating. I think an awful lot of people are going to be watching this to see how he does. The really fascinating bit is not if he fails, because, in a way, first management gig, going to a foreign country, a club with some structural issues, a team that's not been playing that well, obviously just fired the coach. He's only got the gig temporarily, so can he really get the players up for it? Plenty of excuses if he doesn't do well. What happens if he does really well? Is he going to get the gig full time, or is he looking for a job in the Premier League, or is the England job post Euro 2016 even a possibility? Or whisper it, could he go ahead of Ryan Giggs as the next Manchester United manager?
Well, this is the first thing you think, isn't it? It's like a new moving piece in the picture because it happens in the same week that all this pep talk's going on, and then you've got he has, let's say, let's say he has a good 18 months, and then at the end of the Van Gaal's tenure lasts the allotted time, and then, yes, they've got to either give it to Giggs or Gary Neville, who's like has a proven track record for 18 months. That's a big, complicated decision, isn't it?
Well, look, Giggs gets it because if Giggs gets it, I should say, he gets it because he's, in the chair. That's just to the right of Van Gaal and a bona fide United legend. And Van Gaal said he's the next manager and all of that, right? So, whereas Gary Neville is, I suppose, still a sort of outsider. Also, he pissed off the club by building a hotel opposite Old Trafford when they didn't want him to.
but Ryan Giggs is a partner in that hotel, so
that's true.
That's true. That's like, he hasn't stopped him getting the assistant manager job. But the whole thing, the whole kind of murky class of '92, behind the scenes, Peter Lim, secret shadiness, it feels like it's building towards something. If this was a movie, it would be like this bit would be the planning montage,
right? So if Lim was a bit richer, you'd be looking for a bid as well, I suppose, but he's not. He can't afford the club. But, the Mafia are working the moves, aren't they? So they've just got to time it right. When do they stab Van Gaal in the back?
I mean, Van Gaal is increasingly stabbable in the back because even though it would be, I think it wouldn't be at all sensible, there's tons of fans that would absolutely bite your hand off to get rid of Van Gaal tomorrow, So that's a big number. It's a big percentage number. There's got to be at least 30% of people that identify as Man United fans, at least 30% who would want Van Gaal out tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess you segment that in many ways, don't you? I'm quite sure if you took a poll of people inside Old Trafford, even with the jittery sentiment, I'm not sure that 30% would say Van Gaal out. Then again, expectations get set because, we had many, many years with Ferguson. Many people, even when we're at peak Moyes, were still not willing to say Moyes out, especially at Old Trafford. Maybe the fact that he's been fired has reset expectations. Suddenly we've got a bit of bloodlust.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. And also the demographics of United fans have changed enormously over the last several years, around the world, but also in terms of match-going fans, like a whole generation that have been brought up watching the best football that anyone in the country was playing. And the generation before that wasn't their experience. They did sit through Dave Sexton for 2.5 years or whatever it was, But yeah, anyway, he's not getting sacked this week. That'd be that really would be huge news. But what's your instinct? Do you think Gary Neville will be a success at Valencia? What would success even mean at Valencia at this point?
Well, super success is making the Champions League. Yeah, and I guess a European spot after that. So, and they've got the squad for it. They've got plenty of good players there. Got to get Negredo scoring, I guess. If they really want to move up La Liga, that's success ultimately. Steadying the ship being, the minimum acceptable, I suppose. But, again, it's hard not to emphasise how difficult it must be. You've got a young manager, 40, who's been a pundit for the last 4 years.
And England coach.
And an England coach, so he puts the cones out, once every 2 months.
Yeah, but you can't imagine that that's what Gary Neville's doing in that coaching role, can you?
No, true. He gets Phil along to do that. God, poor Phil. He was the second best player and he's the second best coach and he was the second best pundit. Is there anything that he's better at in the Neville household?
Cricket.
Yeah,
although Gary Neville did hit that double century with Matthew Hayden or whatever it was. But Phil Neville was a superb cricketer. And Andrew Flintoff saying it was the happiest day of his career when Phil Neville retired from cricket, because he got to be the best all-rounder in Lancashire or something.
Anyway, good luck, Gary.
Yeah, good luck to both of them.
If you want a present from Manchester United fans, Wayne Rooney, he's there for you, mate. just from us.
Yeah, they really are. The Neville brothers really are absolute United legends, especially Gary. He deserves every possible adulation that he gets from United fans, doesn't he? He's like one of the true greats of the club's history in his way. So yeah, good luck, Gary.
One last thing, because Gary's always had a few things to say about foreign managers coming into the Premier League.
He'd be flipping out if an unproven 40-year-old Spanish person had just been given the Middlesbrough job.
Yeah.
So
outrageous.
Middlesbrough is a terrible club to pick. Tottenham, That's about right, isn't it?
That's about, yeah. Yes. So I'm not sure if there's an equivalent of UKIP in Spain, but Gaz, they might be sending you a letter.
Okay, so you also watched Wolfsburg against Borussia Dortmund, and you said that Wolfsburg, in spite of losing that game, were very impressive.
Created a ton of chances, yeah. They really shouldn't have lost the game, but so they were behind for quite a while and equalised with about 2 minutes to go. And then Kagawa pops up and equalised through a penalty with about 2 minutes to go. And then Kagawa pops up and scores in the 93rd minute for the winner. But the thing about Wolfsburg is they're an open side, right? So Van Gaal thinks that they will be playing for a draw. He's kidding himself. And maybe this is good for United. I don't know. The game being a bit more open, I think they will definitely go for a win and they create chances.
Yeah, absolutely. And they ripped United apart in the first 5 minutes at Old Trafford, and then right at the end of the game, when Van Gaal made a few slightly questionable substitutions, they were hammering the Old Trafford goal, and United were pretty lucky to get out of that game with a win. This is a big test, and the funny thing is, I'm sure everyone will get sick of hearing this in the next couple of days, but people will definitely talk about the game where Van Gaal took Bayern Munich to Juventus in December of 2010, which is like this very famous game because this was the game where the Van Gaal method clicked for Bayern Munich. They won that game 4-1, went on to win the league, get into the Champions League final, win the cup, all that malarkey. I'll be absolutely staggered if that happens at United, because that was a few months into, that was his first season at Bayern Munich, and this is very much not his first season at Man United.
No, right, and look, the chances of United going away to Wolfsburg and putting in a stunning performance and smashing Wolfsburg with their open, free-flowing football and heading into the knockout stages as group winners and hopefully playing someone terrible. There aren't too many terrible sides in second place at the moment, but still, I think they're pretty small. I think this will be a really tight game for United, and the back four are going to be really key, actually, because, as I said, Wolfsburg do create chances, and there's a great chance they'll score goals. So, that back four that's barely letting in any goals will be needed once again. The real question is at the other end, of course. Can United actually score? Really, probably going to have to. Let's make the assumption that PSV beat CSKA, so United are going to have to score at Wolfsburg in order to go through.
Yeah, I mean,
big ask.
Yeah, absolutely, and just so crucial, because it's going to be really depressing if United spend the next however long it is in the Europa League. That is just this squad can't handle the Europa League. I think it's pretty fair to say.
Who can? I mean, what a turgid tournament. So, and actually, let's not get into UEFA politics, but reforming the Europa League would be a good thing. Reforming it so United never have to play in it would be an even better thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that the likely outcome is that United won't get through? Is that how you feel right now?
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to pick a couple of scores, I'm going to make the assumption that PSV beat CSKA, who are out, and not very good, and that United go and draw at Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's United in the Europa League.
I have got a feeling in my bones that we're going to win this game, but it's absolutely worthless. But anyway.
Yeah, we were chatting before the game about United's XG.
Yeah.
So we've moved from data science to feeling in bones.
Yeah. Best XG. So I think it's our third best XG of the season against West Ham. 0.1 worse than it was against Everton.
Do you know what? I wish someone would come up with an index of excitement score.
Yeah. But the excitement score in that game should be quite high. There was sending off and penalty debates, and Bilic was adamant that Schweinsteiger should have gone, called it a moment of madness. I haven't seen this back. Do you think he should have gone? What, did he smash him with an elbow? Bilic did a kind of motion saying, in a press conference, saying it wasn't a flat arm, it was a proper elbow.
I don't know. He's that kind of player.
Bastian Schweinsteiger. Think he might be. Sort of smiles and friendliness, but then
I think if he'd seen a red card, it would be hard to argue against it. But he's Bastian Schweinsteiger. You cannot send him off.
No, but like he's got a dark side. Bastian Schweinsteiger has. Make no mistake, the fury comes when it's not working out for him.
Uh-huh. Right. So Wolfsburg, what do you reckon?
I don't know. I just haven't got a clue. I feel like United should have it in their locker because it's not like Wolfsburg are a better side than United, right? That would be kind of hard to make that empirical argument. If you look at their individual players, you look at the fact that United did win that game at Old Trafford and just about deservedly so. Wolfsburg's got some big strengths, haven't they? Chance creation, and Bastos not quite on the same level of on-fireness as he was last season, but he's still got 7 in the league already this season. And Schürrle's creating a ton of chances, and Kruse in particular is creating a lot of chances. So, they've got plenty of strengths, but if United can find a way to start putting the brown thing in the square thing, it'll all be fine.
Yep. Round pegs, square holes. Something like that.
Yeah. Or is Herrera back? Do we know anything about this? I haven't seen anything about this. I think...
I'm not sure that it was mentioned yet.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe. I mean, he was training and obviously Carrick was on the bench. So we've got a few players coming back and Rooney is definitely out by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so that's... I mean, I'm not being funny or being mean for the sake of being mean, but it is kind of a relief in terms of like getting a result and putting in a performance.
Yeah, indeed.
Should we do some Rantcast questions before we preview Bournemouth?
Very, very good shout. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. At Pebble Smeller says, which is better, watching us bore ourselves senseless or with rubbish football, or watching the Scousers lose to the worst team in the league? I still like watching us most.
Yeah. What exactly is Pebble smelling?
Definitely don't want to know that, but he's been listening to the Rantcast for a long time, so it obviously doesn't stop you listening to the Rantcast. Nope, not going to read that. His Twitter name is Ghost, and then it's UHTOMMONAHN. He says, do you think the team would play better in Santa hats? Van Gaal does love Christmas. I think that it seems unlikely that the team would play worse in Santa hats. I think what you'd see more long passes because they would look up and be attracted to the shiny red hats or bright red hats and try and knock long balls, particularly if Fellaini was wearing one.
I don't think it'd be allowed. FA says no.
At Ryan Dino, this is brilliant. This is a heck of a stretch to get a negative outcome. Is our good league position actually a strange negative, given that it minimises the urgency to change the style of play / players?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's Van Gaal's ultimate defence, isn't it?
But is that a bad thing? Doesn't that mean that to some extent it's working?
It is working. I mean, it's working to the point that in a league that is more open than has been typical, and or in a league with no outstanding team in it, United are hanging in there. But my bet is that the Premier League will be won with maybe even as low as 75 or 76 points. And that's almost never that happens. Very, very rare that the league winner gets that few points. And you could say that's because it's more competitive, or you could say that there isn't really a great side here. So United could win the league. United could win the league, and then every justification to Van Gaal's methods, of course, because he'll have taken United there with some of the dullest football at Old Trafford we've seen in 30 years.
Presumably, for United to win the league, the football would have to get a bit more exciting because we'd have to stop having 0-0 draws so often. We'd have to actually win some games.
Yeah, going to have to score more points.
Yeah.
But City aren't clicking. Leicester, we're going to assume, aren't able to sustain this all season. Maybe, Arsenal it up in the spring. So Chelsea are miles away, of course. So look, it's really open. If City start on a run of victories and Aguero, Company and Yaya Toure are not injured, they're still favourites to win the league.
Yeah, I think you might be right. At Rich Chilver says, which ex-United players, if any, would have suited Louis van Gaal's system? I think 2008 Wayne Rooney would have been amazing. Cristiano, and ironically, Paul Scholes.
Yeah, and Ruud van Nistelrooy, who would have been outstanding as the number 9.
Oh my goodness. Imagine. It just made me feel warm in the back of my neck. Roy Keane as well, because really accomplished technical passer of the ball, really good at choosing his moments to break forward, and just brilliant. Eric Cantona probably too. Because
you see, I mean, the thing is, when you list a bunch of great players, they really should be able to play in any system.
Angel Di Maria. At Eddie Rose 13 says, what's the best way to keep yourself entertained for 90 minutes whilst watching United?
You could stick the Rantcast on.
Yeah. You could watch Paul's House 45 times. No, the maths don't work.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything requiring high bandwidth at Old Trafford. So
everybody, please watch Paul's House on the UMaxit football channel. It's a 5-minute comedy sketch show about Manchester United that I make every 2 weeks. And if everybody that listens to this could click on that, that'd be great. You can find a link in my Twitter profile. Thank you.
Do you pay for adverts on this show? Just checking.
I do. I pay with my blood, sweat and tears, Ed.
Very good.
At Red Devil 09 says, can Manchester United score? They never score. Pretty sure we get this question every week at the moment. They can score. They will score. Surely.
Just not on Tuesday night at Wolfsburg.
At Kai Mack, who I very much enjoyed meeting a few weeks ago at Old Trafford, says, time to replace the Rantcast theme song as it's clearly no longer appropriate, something that many people have mentioned. He suggests Girlfriend in a Coma.
Ouch. No, look, we can't replace the theme tune because it's the theme tune. It's just now post-ironic.
Yeah, the team that gets me excited is Manchester United. I was watching a warm-up and Seven Nation Army was playing and I did get a few jitters of excitement and I was like, what am I doing? Why, body, listen, I know that you feel like you should be excited about what's about to happen, but nothing exciting is going to happen. Anyway, so talking of nothing exciting happening, Bournemouth had a very exciting fixture, the best result in the club's history, according to Eddie Howe, as they beat Jose Mourinho's unstoppable Chelsea machine at Stamford Bridge. Remember when they could never be beaten at Stamford Bridge? But we travelled down to the far-flung lands of Bournemouth, somewhere where I would warrant that a lot of United fans have probably never been. A lot of away fans. It might be a new ground. Have we played them in the Cup recently?
Not recently. Actually, there was that famous game in which Harry Redknapp's Bournemouth beat Manchester United in the FA Cup many, many years ago.
Right. Was that under Fergie?
It was under Fergie, yeah.
See, bad things did happen under Fergie.
That was early Fergie.
Yeah.
Early Fergie, not so great. Late stage Fergie, a bit dull. But middle stage Fergie, absolutely fantastic.
Oh, you want to talk about good things. Middle stage Alex Ferguson. But yeah, so Eddie Howe, bright, promising young manager, Bournemouth injury ravaged and surely destined for relegation. They've in fact had two really, really creditable results on the bounce, because that crazy 3-3 draw with Everton with all the last minute nonsense was a superb result, even though the way it came about would have been very disappointing for them. So 4 points in their last 2 games. Will they get another 3 points when United come to town?
Maybe. No, can't. So I was just checking up the results. That was in 1984. So I guess that was Big Ron. Pre-Fergie.
Oh,
yeah.
Pre-Fergie.
So we did draw with them at Bournemouth in the FA Cup 5th round in 1989. So that was definitely during Fergie. So not too many times we played them. You cannot say that United will definitely go there and smash them. Well, you can definitely say they won't go there and smash them. But just given the result, they're obviously on a massive high. They're playing much, much better than people expected. I mean, they're always a very open side in the Championship, and they're just picking up enough points, I think, to, they might survive at the end of the season.
And I think, considering the injuries they've got, it's a pretty remarkable achievement that they're just about picking up enough points, because a lot of their key threats have been taken out for really long term, like Max Gradle, Callum Wilson, who had adapted to life really well in the Premier League. Matt Ritchie, a Bournemouth player that put up tremendous numbers last season, tons and tons of goals and assists, dropped off a lot this season, but linked to Man United for a January move. Seems a very, very unlikely one, given that he's somewhat struggled to make the step up to the Premier League.
Yeah, I just think they're looking for anyone with, a bit of
pulse.
Something, in the final third. Look, Bournemouth, all they need to really do is pick up points against the teams around them, which is why the win at Chelsea was so important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Chelsea 1 defeat away from being in the bottom 3.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Awesome.
It's just unbelievable. All right. This is a massive digression, right? But why do you think this is happening, Ed?
Oh, I'm not sure I've watched Chelsea enough to honestly say, but you've got Costa, who's definitely off the boil. You've got Fabregas, who's having an absolute stinker of a season. You've got a bit of a mess in the back four where they're trying to transition away from John Terry to some younger players who aren't there. You've got Ivanovic, who's had a very, very poor season by his high standards. They're not certain around the left back. And they lost their goalkeeper, who's out injured now, although the bad results started before that. And Hazard hasn't scored for 25 games. So, I mean, I haven't watched Chelsea enough to definitively tell you, but you've got at least 8 players playing really badly. That's probably got something to do with it.
It's kind of a perfect storm, isn't it? And I think in a way it's a bit hard on Mourinho because I don't think you could have predicted all this happening all at once. You could probably have predicted a couple of them, but like Hazard going totally off the boil, I don't think many people would have predicted that, would they?
What do you reckon? Cheeky bid for him? 10, 15 million in the January transfer window?
So we can stick him wide left and have him left and Mata right.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, that's basically where he's playing anyway, isn't it? So, yeah. No, I don't want us to bid for Eden Hazard. He was mean about it when he chose Chelsea over us on Twitter. So that's it. He's dead to me. But yeah, Bournemouth, cheeky bid for Matt Ritchie, probably not. There's nothing to be said other than it's not going to be easy. To expect it to be easy would just be to be totally missing what's actually happening in football this season.
Well, look, yeah. Every cliche about anyone being able to beat anyone is kind of true, right? So, except for Aston Villa, who actually managed to win a game.
But they won this weekend, so it's true. It's all Newcastle won a football match, Ed. Anything's possible.
And for a good while, it looked like Sunderland might be able to win a football match as well. So
yeah, right. Arsenal won a football match.
They did.
Arsenal, all the teams around them failing, loads of big injuries, won the game they desperately needed to win at home. That's how crazy this season is.
Indeed, yeah. So, look, I expect United, having come off 0-0 at Wolfsburg, to go and win 1-0 at Bournemouth. That's what I'm...
Okay, so those...
I know I'm going overboard there, saying United will score 1 goal this week.
So we've got 180 minutes of football. You reckon 1 goal. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win at Wolfsburg and... a 1-1 draw against Bournemouth.
Very good.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. That's where I think we're at.
Well, I was going to say I'm looking forward to a couple of exciting games, but I'm not. I'm looking forward to a couple of really big games. Yeah. Can you imagine the pressure that's going to be piled on Van Gaal if United are knocked out of the Champions League and follow it up with a dodgy performance and or result against Bournemouth? It's going to be piled on. The flip side, and I guess this isn't any great shakes as analysis, but a victory that takes United somewhere closer to the top of the Premier League with a couple of games to go before the winter, before Christmas, and qualification for the knockout rounds of the Champions League, and then everything Van Gaal does is justified. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a massive, massive week for Van Gaal, not because he's going to get sacked next week if it doesn't go right, but because he has the opportunity to put a huge stamp on his system, basically. He has a big opportunity to prove that his system can work with the players that he's assembled. And it's getting to the point where it's now or never, right? Well, no, because he's going to be here for another 18 months. Anyway, we're going to record the same Rantcast every week for the next 18 months. So I hope you'll stick with us through that process. And believe us, it is a process.
Do you know we could actually just not bother recording these anymore and just get Tom, our editor, to auto put in whatever team we played that week?
Yeah, maybe so. Rooney was bad. The football was boring. Okay, bye everyone.
Very good.
There you go.
Yeah.
If for some reason you want to discuss anything that's happened on the Rantcast with us, please be nice. You can get me on Twitter at UTD Rantcast. You can get Ed at United Rant. Please do subscribe in your podcast software of choice. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I would be extremely much obliged if you could watch the stupid video I make every 2 weeks. Thank you. Yeah, you can read what I've got to say on the Bleacher Report and various other places. You can read what Ed has to say on United Rant, where I've noticed there's been some pretty great content lately, Ed. some contributing writers and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, thanks. I think there's generally some pretty good content on Rant, but yeah, a few contributors at the moment, which is always nice, who got some fresh angles on the same old boring stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're on Facebook and maybe Google Plus for some reason, because it's 2012 or whatever. That's when we've been doing this podcast since 2009, Ed. That's a long time.
That's 250 something hours of our lives that we've utterly wasted.
I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to say hello to James that sent us a really lovely email. Thanks for that, James. It meant a lot. And we'll be back with you to talk about whatever it was that happened against Wolfsburg and Bournemouth next week.
Very good. Chin up, guys.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.